This is James Mathers at Cine Expo 2019. I'm here with my friend Bill Bennett, ASC. We're so lucky to have him. Bill is a very prominent DP, but I can't list you all the features he's done because he's prominent for another reason. He's one of the top guys doing commercials, and in fact, I think you were the first one that ever got into the ASC who didn't do the big features, who did commercials or some other kind of
that is true.
material.
I'm the first member to be inducted. It's an invitational society based upon the quality of your work, and I was the first person to be inducted that hadn't done feature films or television series, and that was revolutionary. But I'm not the only person anymore. David Darby's now in, and several other people have come in after me. But you're right, I was the first, and I can't tell you how big of an honor that is.
And now you're an officer of the ASC, I believe.
I'm currently vice president, yes.
Oh, cool. Well, I know that, like myself, you're an owner of gear. You started out with 35 millimeter area camera packages, as did I. And then you went to the Alexa, and now we're transitioning to large format, and I'd like to get your perspective. And I know you shot some large format film before.
Yes.
So can you tell us some of your thoughts on large format?
During my era of shooting commercials, if we had a heavy visual effects project for like Boss Films or so, we would shoot VistaVision or 5 per 65, depending on the preferences of the visual effects company that we're working with. And then when the Alexa 65 came along, they actually loaned me the camera to test with in the development phase, and then the same thing with the Alexa LF. And I actually, kind of in secret before the camera is released, shot that motocross film with all the slow motion capability of the full-size Alexa LF. And the difference is, it behaved just like an Alexa. So I was very familiar with, literally my assistant spent 5 minutes with the menu to find out the different resolutions. Everything else was the same. And the sensor is essentially the same. It's just 2 of them instead of 1 of them. Mm-hmm. And so exposure-wise, I did what I normally do. I tend to rely upon false color because that's truly what the camera is seeing. And I do false color based upon log, because false color based upon 709, you're not recording 709. So I always switch the camera to show me false color based on log. And then in terms of lenses, I had some of the signature primes, but shooting motocross, you have to use zoom lenses, long ones. And I have a 24-290 Ingenue, which, as you know, covers Super 35. So I stuck a 2X on the back of it, and magically it covered.
Yeah.
It was an Optex 2X that I've had in my kit for a long time, and it expands the image circle by a factor of 2.
And you lose 2 stops?
You lose 2 stops, that's physics, but it didn't have any baffling. That was the thing. Mm-hmm. Some 2Xs have baffling because they know they're intending it only for the Super 35, but luckily this 2X was intended for the still camera market, just remounted, so it covers what we call full format. Just
besides
naturally.
Making the focal length longer, it expands on the other side too.
Yeah, it makes the image circle twice as big. Yeah. So it covered what they call open gate.
Yeah, you said you did some testing for the different manufacturers, and it's not just Arri. I know that we worked on something together for Canon lenses, and if they want somebody to make their camera look good, they call Bill Bennett.
Well, it's really an advantageous position for the manufacturers to ask us before they finalize the design, because then they build something that we want. Because sometimes manufacturers, and I won't name any, have built things that don't work quite well and then slowly have to recover from that. Whereas if they talk to us ahead of time, then they build stuff that we want. You do it, I do it. It's really advantageous for all of us.
Giving them feedback besides just something that they can show.
Yes, exactly.
So what's in the future for you?
Well, currently I'm working on a really interesting project. A longtime assistant director who's now become a director, and his wife, who's a longtime producer that I've known, are working on a documentary. We're hired by the Naval Academy Association, which is the members of the Naval Academy who have now retired, and they have this association. They have asked us to go interview as many of the Hanoi Hilton former POWs who are still alive and are willing. Now, these gentlemen are all in their 80s and 90s, but their stories are remarkable. In that these guys were in prison for 6, 7, 8 years. 4 years of it was in solitary confinement, and they figured out how to survive, and they're all really positive people. So for the rest of my life, I can't complain about anything. Like one guy said, Every day's a good day when there's a doorknob on your side of the door. When you start there and go from there, that's a good day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you.
Have a good shoot on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.